How do you feel about Proton Wallet? I haven't heard many of your thoughts yet.
So, uh, Proton Wallet, I think, was kind of a mistake on their end. It was mishandled. I'm not like against the idea of a cryptocurrency wallet specifically in the Proton ecosystem. I think that there is something to be said for like a crypto wallet that doesn't require you to back up your seed phrase or anything because everything is stored in your encrypted Proton account that's secured the same way that all your emails are secured. Of course, I think that's going to be a lot safer for a lot of people to have a crypto wallet that works like that compared to traditional options. So there are like that's the main benefit I see with Proton. But I think it was a big mistake for them to go Bitcoin only, and they don't really seem to have a lot of interest that I've seen in exploring other cryptocurrencies or even implementing some basic Bitcoin privacy features. But even the most private like Bitcoin wallets out there are not comparable to Monero at the
Right.
moment, for example. And Monero is like the main privacy coin that I think that a company like Proton that whose slogan is like privacy by default should have adopted for sure. It's just not a private by default product, and I worry that people are going to be using it um, and not understanding like the risks involved with a transparent blockchain like Bitcoin.
Yeah. I listened to the Andy Yen interview, and for
Oh,
some with Seth. Um,
with Seth, I was wondering if that was out yet. That's I'll have to listen to that.
yeah, it's out. And some people listened to it and were still eh. I think it actually made me more optimistic about it. Hearing Andy, I don't know why they release things in such a weird way, and then they always have to do this thing where they like, oh wait, we didn't realize our customers would react this way, and it's like, well, you released a Bitcoin only wallet without any privacy features, and your privacy, like, it's just kind of frustrating that that wasn't an obvious thing. Hearing Andy talk
Yeah,
about it, it made more sense. I think, the analogy he says is, I think we talked about this on the phone. He's like, hey, like, if we wanted to make a private way to communicate, we wouldn't have made an email thing. We would have made Signal. We would have made another form of communication. But what we did is we took something that wasn't private, that was open to everybody, that was decentralized, that let anybody use it, and we tried to build on top of that and make it more private. He's saying Bitcoin isn't any different. I think there's a little bit of nuance there that I might disagree in some ways compared to email. But I think the
yeah,
issue I have is he said that they do want to roll out privacy features, but a lot of the actual privacy features they want to roll out, he even said it's going to depend on these court cases.
mm,
And he even kind of insinuated that the election can change what's going to happen with those court cases, which seems really weird to me because I don't think any presidential candidate's going to help with these court cases they have to deal with in terms of Bitcoin privacy. So it seems almost like I think that they might have made an awesome bet and it might pay off if they're able to start rolling out these mixing services in Bitcoin and all this cool stuff they want to do. But it's not even a guarantee. So it seems like a really risky product to release. So if they can't roll out privacy features, then I don't know what's going to happen from there. And
yeah,
he specifically said the reason they're not doing Monero is because of just the amount of users. And that's it. He said if Monero was more popular and surpassed Bitcoin, then maybe we'd consider adding it. But it's not going to happen. And he even said they're going to consider fiat before other currencies, other cryptocurrencies. They're going to integrate fiat before other cryptocurrencies. So
yeah.
mixed
Well, I'll
things.
have to listen to that interview. That's
You
kind of
definitely should.
unfortunate though, because I think I don't remember if I was talking to you about this or with somebody else, but I think that it is a totally different situation than like email, for example, because I don't think that they're, in my opinion, Bitcoin people might disagree with me, but from everything I've seen, there isn't really a way to achieve the kind of levels of privacy that I would want on the Bitcoin blockchain. I don't think it's technically going to be possible with how it works. And that is just how I feel about it. So I kind of disagree with the whole like email comparison. I don't think that they're going to be able to achieve a similar level of privacy with Proton Wallet if that's the case, which is
Right.
kind of a bummer to me.
Well, I think they could achieve the level of privacy, but with maybe these coin mixing tools that are now very legally. And even then, there's still issues with Bitcoin privacy, but that's the point. It jeopardizes you as a company to have to be doing that, and it jeopardizes your customers in some way too. So I feel like it's really hard to do this. And I think the other thing I really wanted to say, making communication private is a lot less taboo than making money private. When you start messing with money, that's a totally different ball game. And so I trust their, they have their legal team and everything, so I know they're going to do everything properly. But I think it's a much harder thing to do, even from a legal perspective of like masking funds in any way, shape, or form. That's not KYC'd or anything like that. Is going to be a tough battle, I think. But I really hope they're able to pull it off. I hope they're able to do Bitcoin privately somehow, because then it makes the biggest coin more private. So if they're able to push the envelope even a little bit, then good. But I hope it doesn't keep people away from an otherwise better tool like Monero, is my hope. Ken said they've been with Proton since 2018, but the wallet's the first move they made where it made them consider leaving. Yeah, my first reaction was pretty similar. I can't say I'm still processing it because I listened to the Andy Yen interview and I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where they're coming from now, but I still fundamentally disagree with quite a few things. But we're working on a review. We're trying to be really fair about it. We're recruiting a couple people to help us with the interview too, just so it's not us. Um, and so I think it's going to be a really good review. And I'm going to try to be as fair as I possibly can. Um, and we're going to see what happens. It feels really stuck. I just don't know how they're going to improve the privacy of Bitcoin, and all the things they're proposing are dependent on things out of their control, which is
Yeah.
what I'm a little bit concerned about.
I think the main thing to like think about with these new feature releases is that Proton, when they're releasing this kind of stuff, they're not like compromising on their existing products. I don't feel like in any way. So it's something that like for now, like if you're not into crypto at all, it's something that's separate and you don't have to use. And Proton has generally been pretty good about that, maintaining like we have a set of products and you can use all of them or you can use some of them. Like I never have to interact with Proton Calendar, for example, which is amazing.
You should watch it because Andy specifically says it sucks.
There's a lot of work that's happening on Calendar. I know Calendar people are unhappy with it. In fact, I think there's some serious issues there that we need to improve, and we're going to do that, right? I think even on the mail products, there's some long-standing features that we're very close to getting out.
I have to re-listen to it. I don't want to misquote him.
All right.
But he pretty much said there's some things in Calendar that suck right now, or something like that. Like, yeah. So that's not just us.
I'll definitely have to listen to that interview. But if I think about like one of the biggest problems with Mozilla, on the other hand, I'll use them as a contrast because I've been annoyed with them lately. They start a lot of like new business ventures, and then they like bring all that stuff into like their core products, like Firefox, for example, and then they fill Firefox up with a bunch of stuff that people don't necessarily need and certainly don't need by default. Like if they're going to purchase Pocket, for example, that's fine, but enabling it by default in Firefox, which is an entirely unrelated product to, I think, what Pocket does, to be honest, it's indicative of like a company that's beginning to show some problems. And if Proton goes in that direction, I might start to be more concerned. But if they're going to work on new products like this, I'm not really worried about it right now.
That's fair. I think that's a good perspective. Someone asked, don't you think that Proton is focusing too much on launching new products? For example, they have the Linux app, which looks ancient, is kind of slow. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of... See, this is where it's kind of tough to be able to like read what's going on behind the scenes. And because that's a fair argument against what Jonas said earlier. Because Jonas said if they're releasing new products, but it's not impacting the other things, it doesn't really matter. But if it's taking away development resources from the other things, and it means they're prioritizing new services, then it does matter. And it's hard to know what's going on without understanding their development. I'm super confused behind how they develop things behind the scenes. So yeah, it's hard to know.
It is challenging to say for sure. I would say that like if they're not developing certain features because they're doing this, that is an issue. But from what I've heard from Proton in general, it does seem like they are working behind the scenes on a lot of features that people want. Like they already have teams that are dedicated to this, and just adding more development resources to those teams is not going to speed things up at the end of the day. So if they have people working on new features, which from what they say, I have to assume that they do. I guess I can't know for sure, but it seems like they do. Then I don't think it's really a big issue that they're also launching new products, because those would be separate teams.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to know. But I do overall just wish that I would just want like my current Proton suite to be more functional, more usable, cleaner, more stable, and more integrated before they released anything new. And where a Bitcoin wallet is on that list is even lower than that in terms
Right.
of priorities. So I think that's kind of also the general kick in the gut for a lot of people. Even if it has nothing to, even if it's a totally different development team, even if it doesn't even change anything, it still kind of feels like a kick in the gut when you're a paying Proton user. And people
Yeah.
right now are complaining about the VPN app on Linux, and people complain about the calendar. But now there's a new service, and it's like, oh, that's cool, I guess. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's not a good look for them.
yeah, I agree.
But I just want to, I would just make it clear that like, it's not necessarily related.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I understand the emotional response, but I agree that like it doesn't have to be the actual situation.
Yeah, and Proton I think is extremely aware that their current products are lacking in a lot of different respects, and they want to build like a real full like Google Workspace alternative, for example. I mean, even if like that quote that you said from the interview is true about Proton Calendar, I'm sure that they want to improve all these things. So I don't think that they're just like ignoring all of these features. I really don't.
Right.
Hey there, you just watched a clip from the Techlore Clips channel, which tries to pretty much take little snapshots from our main channel, Techlore, where we talk about digital rights, privacy, security, and we critically look at tech in a lot of fun ways. So if you want to check out our main channel, check it out down in the description. Thank you for watching this clip, and you can also subscribe to the Clips channel to see any future clips. See you next time.